Hello, everybody. My name is Lewis Lee, and this is Planet Traffic. We do this every Thursday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. So tell all your people that are in the cars, boats, trucks, that we talk about it here on Planet Traffic. My man Ray is traveling. He might make it on tonight. He might not. So just keep prayers for him on his travels. And we are in St. Louis today. And it is hot. So tonight I wanted to talk about maintenance on your vehicles. It's hot out. When it gets hot, your vehicle turns to mush. The hoses, the fluids. So keep an eye on all that stuff. Tire pressure. Get a lot of blowouts. We're traveling now. We just came from Dallas, and we've seen a lot of blowouts. So if your tires are too inflated, you got a blowout. If it's not inflated enough, you got a blowout. So take a few minutes and check your tire pressure. Check all your fluids, because it sucks breaking down. I tried my hardest not to break down, so we did a lot of stuff on the bus before we left, and keep my fingers crossed, things work out. So I'm gonna pull in the fellas tonight, see what they're talking about. We got no class, not there. We got Jim. What's up, Jim? But I can't hear nobody.
I'm on mute. How about that?
So everybody left their seats. What's up, Papa Squirrel?
Hello. And if you have tire pressure warning gauges, ignore them, especially if you don't have tire pressure sensors on your truck.
You know what? I'm coming to realize that because I have them on the bus, and it's always wrong. It always beeping at me, telling me that something's wrong, and I'll go out and check them, and it's off.
We don't even have any. We thought we did because we kept seeing this light saying, warning tire pressure and that. And we went by a tire shop. And the guy said, "You don't have any tire pressure sensors."
Really?
Well, the dash thinks I do.
Now, what vehicle is that?
It's the Ram truck that we bought.
Okay.
I think it's the Gearheads.
Now, is it aftermarket rims on it?
No,
Factory.
factory rims.
Yeah, they forgot to hit the switch and turn it off.
We've tried. The switch doesn't work either.
Yeah. So I bought the ones that you could put on your valve stems for the bus.
Yeah, I think those would be best.
Yeah, but mine isn't working right. I put in what you first put them on. You have to program the little box, and it will ask you what tire pressure you want. Down the line, then it goes to each tire. Then you got to program the little sensor next to the box or screen. Then you put it on that tire. But I've had problems with it. It never seemed to work right. I bought it on Amazon, and I had it for probably a year before I put them on. So,
I'm gonna sign out and sign back in. I'll catch you back in a second.
Okay. Yeah, so returning it, I can't return it because I had it so long. So that's another thing. When you buy something off Amazon, use it and make sure it works right. Yeah, make sure everything works right before you put it in the box. Because you only got 30 days to return it.
Yeah, it's true. Most of us like buying stuff. It's like, okay, this is the project. I'll need this, this, and this. And then the next thing you know, your project is 1 or 2 years delayed.
Yeah.
And you open the stuff up and find out that either it doesn't work or that company went out of business a long time ago.
Yeah, I ran into that on a couple things here on the bus build. I bought it because I had the money, and I bought it and put it away. I better get it while I had the money. And I ran into a couple things that went bad, but I did on one item. I forget what it was. but I emailed Amazon and told them, you know, what happened, and they took care of me.
Oh, okay,
So,
good.
Yeah, so it's a, you know, it's a if.
Well, Lewis, you can have my kind of luck where I took my pickup truck and had 4 tires put on it, and they checked it beforehand, and they said 3 of your sensors are bad, 1 check's good. I said, well, let's do what we got to do.
Right.
Backing the truck out of the shop, bing. I said, hey, I called a guy who was a friend of mine at the shop there, and I said, hey, so he takes his little scanner and he looks at me and he goes, the 1 tire that we didn't change, it's dead now. Back into the shop, fix the stupid. They're $50 a piece for my truck, for those little sensors for the GM. They were like $50 a piece. I was like, dude, just fix it, just do it.
Yeah,
because I had, you know, at that point I was already $1,500
Maybe
for tires. Just fix it.
If 3 are bad, I would think the next logical step would be like, you know what? Change all 4.
Well, Jim, the thing is, I had 2 replaced before at the same shop. I had 2 tires that were wearing funky, so I had them replaced. I said, go ahead and fix those 2, put new sensors on it. So I figured, okay, well, I'm going to have to do 2 because that was about a year old. Nope. All 4 by the time I left. All 4 tires. I was like, it's like, I mean, literally backed out of the shop. Ding, it turned the light on.
I have heard that those things are a little sketchy.
Yeah, they're finicky.
Yeah, and there was no way to tell if it was the new one or old one because, you know, they were all like the factory style is why that ones that shop used. So I had no idea. I just noted I ended up 4 tires, 4 sensors.
Right.
So
I still swear stuff you get now is not as good as it was 20 years ago.
It's not.
My dad was having some trouble. He's got this is his 4th Corvette. He's had a 61 263s, and now he's had a 80 for many years now, and he thought he was having some noise in the rear end. Thought it was a bearing, you know, in that independent rear suspension. You got the taper bearings and drive shafts and U joints and all that stuff. And the guy at the shop who has been a friend of ours, a friend of the family's for 30 plus years, is exactly what he said. He goes, dude, he said, if we take that apart, he says, my recommendation is find what's bad and replace only what's bad. He says, the rest of those bearings, and he goes, those stuff that's 20, 30 years old or whatever in that now are better than what we can buy new and put on there.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, I was watching something the other day and they were doing brakes on a truck, like a pickup, like a Ford pickup truck. And the guy he says, he goes, this is master cylinder number 3, brand new parts, put them on, bench bleed them. They go to bleed the truck, master cylinder blows out. Pull it off. Same thing. You know, hey, we got a bad one, got a bad one. Yep. They go swap it out. And he's like, he goes, we literally had to go through 3 brand new, not remats. He goes, these were brand new master cylinders. He goes, we went through 3 of them before we got one that was worth a damn.
And it makes you wonder, where are they getting them from?
Who knows? I used to always, if I saw a part or had to buy one and it was a Cardona rebuild, personally, I've had a lot of bad experiences with Cardona rebuild. So I was like, no, thanks. I'll rebuild them or whatever. But like you said, Papa Squirrel, like you said, nowadays it's you scratching your head going, is any of them worth a dang?
Yeah. Yep, you're right. The old stuff, they made it right. I had good luck with Napa. Napa still keeps pretty good stuff.
Well, and that's one of the part stores in my youth that I worked with I worked in the Napa system. So like you, and I've had this discussion with Ray before about, I know some people don't like them, knock on wood. I've always had good luck with standard ignition products, which is what one of the, they sell those through Napa. And I've heard guys that hate them, wouldn't use standards. Like, I've never had a problem with them. If they did, it was like a bad set of points. points and condensers, changed them out. Here you go. We were rocking and rolling. So
Standard used to be in Long Island City.
that's that, because that was funny, Jim, because I forget what it was that I had bought. It was a sensor or something. And when I saw it, I looked at it and it said made in USA and something about that. And I took a picture of it because Ray and I were talking about sensors. And that's when he was telling me. So I did some checking, and sure enough, that little sensor, whatever, was made in, it was done in Long Island. He says, there. And then he started going, yeah, I had one that was a Chinesium something, same thing. It was a standard sensor that he had gotten, and he looked at it and he goes, oh, it said, Hencho China. So I said, dude, I don't even remember what that was. If it was a oil pressure switch or something we were working on, and we needed a sensor that was reading bananas. So it's like, well, let's, we couldn't get a gauge in there to read it. I think it was an oil pressure switch because we couldn't get in there to put a gauge on it, an old school mechanical gauge. It was just like, it was one of those where you got this much room to feed in there, and you're trying to. That was like, dude, I can't get my hand in there to put a fitting into the block and this.
Yeah.
I said, let's just try another sensor, and sure enough, knock on wood, it worked. So
Ray's former partner on the radio show, Joe D, worked for Standard. He was a telephone consultant.
Like I said, I've used Standard ignition on a lot of different stuff, and again, only my experiences, I've had pretty good luck with them. So
back in the day, that's all I used. Well, like Blue Streak, which is their premium.
That was one of their lines, Blue Streak, and changed
Blue
to many
Streak
of those.
Standard.
Yeah.
Caps
Just saying, like,
It was
Standard Motor Products was in Long Island City.
It was what everybody sold. It's what the gas stations on every corner had. Blue Streak Standard points and condenser sets.
Yeah, I wasn't never too keen on the combined sets they call them, where the condensers on the points.
Yeah,
I never had a lot of luck with those. So I always again, personal preference. I always seem to have better luck with the separate points and condensers. But
I would have to have Joe check me, but if I remember, the GM stuff was combined, but the other stuff wasn't. Or maybe they had like a conversion.
Although, Jim, you could get
what they call a uniset.
Yeah,
you could get the condenser separate from the points of the contact set, but they always tried to push to, hey, here's the unitized or whatever they call them. Nowadays you tell something to kids about setting a dwell on a set of points and checking your time in, and then they look at you funny. It's like, so
you're right. What? They look at you funny, but if you ask them what the dwell is on the injector pulse, they can't even tell you that, and that they should know, and it is the same as the small block Chevrolet 28 to 32.
I used to keep and the last Chevelle that I had that had a points distributor in it, I kept a matchbook in the cigarette lighter, even though or in the cigarette or the ashtray, because we mic'd them one time, and that cover was 18,000. And I knew that if something happened, I could at least get it to run or get it close with 18, using that matchbook cover as my feeler gauge. It's
good.
Clean them up, get them close to that.
Yep.
And it'll run.
Yeah, that's an old school trick.
Worked on a 62 Volkswagen van too, because a friend of mine's van quit on him, and we were at the Air Force Base there up in Shepherd, and I got out there with that matchbook and got it started, and he looked at me and said, "You're a genius." I said, "No, I just read too much."
So not my first rodeo.
Boy, ain't that the truth.
Oh, what was it? I saw a shirt the other day, made me laugh. The guy said, the shirt said, "It's my second rodeo." I looked at that and I started laughing. I said, you got to know that's a funny one. It's my second rodeo.
So I was down in Texas visiting my man Paul here, and we were gallivanting all around Texas. It was way too hot to be playing around outside. Man, look, you couldn't do nothing in the daytime. If it was daytime, you could not go outside.
You adjust.
I don't want to adjust, man. I'm out of there.
You adjust.
I might come visit you
Arizona,
maybe.
Nevada, New Mexico, that's worse.
Yeah, that's what they say. I got to plan my routing a little better, man. I got to get me down there where it's too hot.
Well,
But now you understand about those snowbirds.
Yeah, they
know-
got the map done right.
You know, Lewis, that's like Coach last week was saying it was 100 something out there where he's at.
That's crazy.
He lives there and he says it was too hot.
Yeah,
And when they get that, it's a dry heat, wet heat. Hell no. When it's over 100, I don't care. Dry, wet. That's crazy hot for
that's ignorant.
being outside working in it.
And it's hard to believe when I was a kid, well, when I was in high school, used to work in the peanut fields and that irrigating. I never wore a hat and I worked out in 105-degree weather in that. Of course, I had a natural afro, but
Yeah,
that helped. I didn't think anything about it. I couldn't understand where everybody wanted to wear a hat. Of course, nowadays, anytime I get out in the sun, I wear a hat because nothing's up there anymore.
the heat doesn't bother me. It's the direct sunlight. I cannot be in direct sunlight at any temperature for any length of time.
yeah, that's what it was. The sun. That sun is.
The sun is very strong.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
It's the sun, the rays from the sun that you're used to getting in Ohio and the mid-Atlantic is completely different. Here, the sun is just stronger.
It really
And
is.
it affects you different. Although I'll bet you my vitamin D levels have increased.
You what?
The vitamin D levels, I'm sure, have increased from when I was
Oh,
living
yeah.
in Maryland.
Oh yeah, had to. It's nice down there though. We had a great time. Paul took care of us, man. He fed me more than once, and yeah, we had a good time in Texas.
Did
2-pack crackers.
what was the one place?
I gave him 2 packs of peanut butter crackers.
Yeah, and water.
I'm trying to remember that one.
No. I offered you Coca-Cola.
What was it? There was one place I used to. It was one of the well-known barbecue places there in Texas because I love Texas style brisket, and we went to a place good outside of Houston. We had picked up a load in outside of Gary, Indiana, and it was going down to the Civic Center there in Houston. They were renovating. And on the way back up to Strawn, which is, like I said, right outside of Fort Worth, it's outside of Fort Worth before you get to Abilene on 20. We stopped at a place called Good Barbecue. And that's the place I was telling you, Lewis, that had the big buffalo head on the wall that talked.
Yeah,
And he threw out insults and all kind of stuff and just he farted. I mean, it was it was funny, but I got some good dry rub and stuff there while I was there, and the guy, it was, and down there, when you get to Texas, as you go out there, and it's like, you get what 2 or 3 meats and this and that, different kind of places, and so I got like brisket, red hots, and something else. And the guy he was cutting the brisket. And he went to kind of whack the fat off of it. And I went, no, leave the fatty brisket on there. That's the one I want. I mean, that fatty, because that's you get that nice fatty stuff, and that's what just melts in your mouth when you put it in there. And it's like, oh, that's the stuff.
That's why I weigh like I do now.
I'm with you. I tell you, we went to Buc-ee's. This is our first time at Buc-ee's gas station. And they got some good brisket in there.
Yep.
Which Buc-ee's did you stop at? Did you stop in the one in Royce City, right there on 30?
Yeah. Yep. Actually, I got some in the refrigerator. I bought because you could buy about a pound, so I bought a pound to throw in the refrigerator. Yeah.
that last trip to Texas, or before I bought my truck, but when I was taking that straight truck back that I used to run, I took it back to him, and then we rented a car there and we drove back, and I took my wife to the one right outside of Dallas on 20. There's a good size one right outside of 20. And
Yeah.
she's like, what? And I said, we're going to stop here. I said, because in a truck, it's always no trucks, which I get. They don't want, trucks and stuff. And even though I was in a straight truck, I could have pulled in a 40, a double spot and not been a problem. I just went, you know what? I'm not going to cause no ruckus. It's a straight truck. It's not 18-wheeler. But so we stopped on the way back, and I think we spent like 2 hours in that place.
Yeah.
And I love I think they call them the beaver chips, the French or the potato chips. They make potato chips and put it. It's like, oh God, I could eat my weight in those things. They were so good.
Yeah, Bucky's no joke, man. They had everything in there.
Yeah, the brisket, the smoked turkey's real good. What else? The sausage, if you like sausage, and the I never say it right. The with the rolls, or like the sweet bread with the stuff in them. Kolaches
Kolaches or something.
Kolaches. Like I said, I always mess the saying up, but those were good too.
Yeah,
like
I do too, but damn it, they know what I'm after.
Papa Squirrel, we shouldn't be eating a lot of the stuff that's in that place, but
if I had to pronounce the names correctly, I wouldn't be eating as much.
Yeah.
Brian, you're making too much noise over there.
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
Good.
What's up, Brian?
Not much, man. Just the heat, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
didn't
a
break
mother.
by you.
Huh?
You're up north. You can't be complaining that much.
Dude, we've had heat index over 110 for 4 days now.
I've been
Wow.
talking to some people. I've been joking because it is hotter there than it is here.
Dude, it's smoking.
The other day, you beat us by like 10 degrees.
Wow.
It's
We had a couple of hot days, but it broke. It broke today.
That's what they were saying today. They said it wasn't supposed to be as bad, and we just had one hell of a thunderstorm go through here, dude, and the rain. And you go outside,
Oh,
and it's like triple the humidity now.
Steam. It's all it is the steam now.
Yeah, it's really messing my hair up, and my attitude sucks. And I tell you, I just really lost my patience.
Right, get your haircut like that, you ain't got to worry about it.
Yeah, just another normal day.
Another normal day, yeah. I tell you, all I gotta do is add a little tequila, and with this heat, everybody's pretty damn nasty. So,
Yeah.
I'll stick with a bourbon, but me and Jose, we've had our chats through the years.
yeah.
That's okay. Put a little ice with that tequila. Everything will calm down.
Not around here, man. Everybody around here is so wired right now, high strung. It's really no fun, but it's all right. Hopefully. So yeah, but the heat's been tough.
Yeah,
I will have to say.
They've had warnings for your part of the country.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, my daughter was saying it was hot in Ohio too, close to 100.
Yep.
I had to run by the storage unit today and run some errands, and I think the truck was saying it was 95 at least, and then you add the humidity and everything else on top of it. And like Paul was saying, you get out there in that sun, and it's just like, damn, it is miserable.
Yeah, I wanted to try to clean out. I've been trying to clean out one of my storage units, and I went and loaded up. I had some extra, or they were trade-ins, but I had a handful of carts. I don't know, 5 or 6 carts. I cleaned out the truck and wanted to load them up. Man, I went out to that storage unit, dude. And with that, I mean, it was an oven in there.
yeah, I can see that.
And I was like, God, I'm glad nothing in here is going to melt. But it was just crazy. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully, it's supposed to be nice tomorrow. Then we're Saturday and Sunday right back to it. So,
Eesh. Ow.
So
Okay.
where are you crashing tonight, Lewis?
I'm in Missouri. I'm at a
How
buddy's
far
house.
up in Missouri?
I'm about an hour south of St. Louis.
Nice.
Listen, I wasn't tired, so I kept driving. When I talked to you, I was going to stop. I drove all the way here. I was here at 12:30 last night.
Nice.
Yep, so I just kept it moving. I was trying to stick with like maybe 4 hours a day of driving. But last night I was just up, man. I just kept on moving.
Okay.
It was hot. So the front of the bus, the firewall and under the dash gets so hot, man. It feels like I got the heater on. So today I bought some that chrome or not chrome, the reflective bubble wrap stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So I did all the way under the whole dash. So hopefully that'll help. 'Cause it's hot.
It'll help.
Yeah.
It'll help. That's what I have down on the floor in my Model A. I went to Home Depot or Lowe's or something, and it's like a bubble wrap with foil on one side, and it's meant
Yeah.
for water heaters.
Yeah.
And it's just a big square piece that you wrap around a water heater and attach it. And that's what I laid down on the floor and then put the carpet and mat down. And it made a difference.
Yeah.
that lizard skin's real good for that too.
That was my next suggestion is, Lewis, when you downtime, we need to get on the face of the firewall, all in the engine compartment, that lizard skin product. Because once you put the lizard skin down, you can put an ice cube in a frying pan on top of the stove and the ice cube won't melt.
Yeah.
That
Well,
stuff is that good in a heat barrier.
It's good
And
stuff. I
it's-
sprayed that into my truck when I
Yeah.
bought my box truck. I sprayed the floorboards and under the dash and every place else I could get with lizard skin. It helped a lot.
I've done a few jobs with the lizard skin. It is the superior one in the industry when it comes to a heat barrier.
Yeah, I got to do it for sure. I was gonna take the doghouse off and do under there. Probably do the lizard skin. You're right.
Yeah, the lizard skin works real good. You could spray it. I mean, like I said, it's just it's good shit.
I'm gonna look into it as soon as I get home. Believe me.
Some of the other stuff some of that insulation stuff, the water heater one, I never even thought about. That's really good.
It's cheap.
I know they have
cheap
one
and
that has
easy.
the self-sticking. The self-sticking stuff, you got to be careful because when it gets hot, it'll smell like a used tire
Oh, man.
on some of the cheaper stuff.
Okay.
Makes sense. But I'm gonna do that because the front part of my floor around the seats, I'm gonna put some of that on there. I'm glad you told me that.
Yeah, the hot water, I never even thought of that. Actually, I got a roll here that when I changed my hot water heater, I went to a bigger size so that wrapping didn't go around. Of course, I changed all that once I heated and air conditioned the garage. I didn't need to worry about keeping the hot water heater warm, because it's during the wintertime, it's heated in here. So,
No.
but I'm glad I didn't throw that away because now I know what to use. Because I've seen guys get the cheaper stick stuff insulated, and then they say when it gets really hot, man, it smells like a used tire, old tires in the car. Because
it works good. It wrapped. Again, most of my floor is flat, so it just lays down. And I use the metal or the aluminum sticky tape that's like 2 inches wide for doing
the
duct
AC
work.
tape, right? For
What
AC
is it?
ducts. The
Yeah.
AC duct tape. Yep.
Yeah, the heavy metal tape.
Yeah, that's what
and
it is.
taped around the edges. It was good stuff.
Yeah.
I use
And
that
I
tape on
did
all
notice
kinds
a
of stuff, man. It's
difference.
good tape.
It made a sound barrier difference and the heat transfer difference.
Yeah, that
We'll get
sounds.
some of that tomorrow. Me and the wife was sweating, man. It's bad when you can't even lay your arm on your leg, start sweating.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's just like the tool truck, you know, with all that glass. That's just a fishbowl up front, you know. And it's so funny because I'll go find a place to park it, and I'll find a little bit of shade, and man, within literally 30 seconds, you could feel a 10-degree drop, like in the back, you know, just having that thing shaded. You know, because unfortunately, the one thing I don't like about my new truck, well, the one thing I like, but the pros and cons of it, I have in my new truck, I have a taller ceiling, which was nice. I didn't feel so claustrophobic in there. But the problem is it's so close to the roof of the truck that once that sun heats up the metal on the outside, there's no vapor barrier. So once the top of that roof gets hot, the metal gets hot, the AC's fighting it all day. And
Is it just a metal roof, or got any kind of paint or anything on it out from the outside, or
it's a stainless steel top, and it comes right down, and it's got a 1-inch gap. That's what the wood is. It's 1-inch gap, and then they got the pegboard or the ceiling, and then the pegboard. And on my old truck, I had a 3-inch drop, so it had a good vapor barrier, and I didn't really have that much of a problem.
too bad you can't cover that roof in white or something that would kind of dissipate some of that.
Yeah, well, I thought about getting up there and painting it white. And then I
Spray
thought about,
chrome.
well, I'll pull it all down and lizard skin it or something because, dude, it gets on days like this. But I keep telling myself, we normally don't have that many days like this. And when we do have it, it's only a couple of days. But
those couple days are becoming a couple weeks. And
yeah,
into a month.
Yeah. And
that
then I
makes
said,
sense.
oh, we only got 3 weeks, or we only got 6 weeks, and we got into the, you know, but the way the weather's around here now, I'm going to
I don't
Brian,
believe a lot of this climate change is being caused by people. I believe this climate change is being caused just because we're going through
a cycle.
literally.
I agree too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not ready to. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to go out and start licking trees. But you know, hey,
I wonder if that white snow seal that I put on the roof of my garage and everything else is the same stuff they put on trailers and that. I wonder if
Yeah.
that would.
my old truck
Anything.
had a white top. I don't know why this one's stainless steel.
Yeah, I bought the paint for the bus. When I get home, I take the panels back off and paint the roof. Paint it white.
Yeah, I bet if you could get that panel white versus just that stainless steel, I bet it would drop the temperature in that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Like you said, it's just once it heats up that stainless steel, then you're just in a bake oven.
Yeah, it's incredible.
What you should go with is spray foam. Spray foam the roof. That spray foam's no joke, man. You put an inch and a half spray foam on there, you can tell the difference. Like if I touch where like one of the ribs that goes across, you can feel the difference if you touch it compared to the spray foam.
Yeah, I have a porthole in the ceiling, and it's coming up on it. It's starting to leak, so I got to rip all that out. I think this time I'm just going to rip everything out and do something with some kind of insulation, or I don't really want to drop the ceiling down. My little Spanish guys might like it because they can't reach the top, but.
Yeah.
Man, when I used to walk in there, and I used to almost, like I said, I would hit my head sometimes or drag. I mean, I'd be real close if I had something big hanging on the ceiling. I didn't like being that low. I didn't like how low the ceiling was. But
See, with the spray foam, it gives you a vapor barrier, so it won't sweat.
yeah,
Boy, for some reason, I'm getting a lot of dropout. I think it's got to be my daughter's internet that I'm using.
Yeah.
could
So,
be. I don't know.
Lewis, what do you think of the Texas car culture that I introduced you to?
Nice bunch of guys, or guys and girls. It's cool. Yep. Yeah, real friendly. Everybody's friendly. Yeah, we went on the day before Father's Day, right? It was that Saturday,
Yes.
and Paul got a trophy. You know, he did his thing. Hey, everybody didn't get one, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, nice cars, man. There was a nice truck there for sale. My wife loves trucks, man. I had to pull her away. I was like, come on, we got to keep it moving.
Lewis, you see some nice tractors while they're out there riding?
Yeah, yeah. Paul got a nice tractor in the yard, but he got to do some finagling with it.
I found an engine. It's in Oklahoma, up by Grand Lake. So I'm familiar with the area where this guy is. It's a matter of going up and getting it.
Yeah.
And then I also found one that's in Akron, Ohio.
Oh, I can go get it for you.
I'm like, nah, I'm not going all the way to Ohio for an engine.
Well,
What
listen,
type of tractor is it?
It's an 8N.
Oh, a Ford 8N. Okay.
Now, Lewis, when I was talking tractor, I was talking truck,
Oh, rig.
like a bull hauler truck.
Yeah.
Tractor.
There were some guys out there, man.
You see some of them boys riding the roads out there in Texas, and them showed lights galore.
Where did they get the money? I don't understand, man.
Okay.
I've been asking that for 10 years at least. Well, how the hell do they pay for that stuff? Because that's, if you look, that stuff's expensive. Those watermelon lights and stuff like. I was looking at like 4 states or something, and those stupid watermelon lights are anywhere from $35 to $50 a piece.
Yeah.
And you see guys got 100 of them on his bumper. I'm like, good God.
Yeah.
Okay, hold up for a second. The amount of time that it takes to keep the truck clean versus the amount of time it's running down the road. They're pretty much equal, aren't they?
Yeah.
It depends on if you're polished or if it's a stainless, or because a lot of time coatings have come a long way with the ceramics and the newer coatings than the ceramics. Hell, you can take stuff that's like ceramic coated and throw a bucket of mud water on it and it'll sheet right off.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I found some spray. I think it's RV spray wash stuff. Man, it works great on the tool truck. I mean, and keeping it clean. And I'm not the cleanest person, but I mean, like I said, I get a lot of guys saying, "Man, I can't believe your truck is still clean, or it's still reasonable or whatever." I think I get the shit at Walmart actually.
Oh, really?
Spray it on, and like I said, I don't do shit to the tool truck.
It's made for RVs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I have a bottle around here. Like I said, you just hook it up to your hose. And I used to get the pressure washer out and spray it. I mean, I used to do all kinds of shit. And I found there was some kind of soap that didn't leave any residue. I don't know what it was. I think I got it off of that. What is that? Chrome 56 or a truck place.
There's a handful of them. I mean, there's 4 states. There's
that Chrome 56 or whatever.
Iowa 80.
I don't know. I had gotten a couple times. And it worked. But one day I was walking through. I think it was Walmart. I bought a couple of them, and it works great. Just spray and forget about it, dude. It doesn't.
Brian, there's nothing more just taking the wind out of your sails than sitting there and cleaning wheels and tanks and catwalks and cleaning all that aluminum, and then you hit the truck with the truck wash and it stains the aluminum, and it's like, oh good.
Oh yeah.
It's like I did that. I had a little black day cab, and I cleaned all the tanks and the wheels and the catwalks, and I had all the aluminum nice and clean and that. And I was the last thing I had to be in a day cab. I was like, oh, let me just bust the cab out right quick. And that truck wash or whatever it was I had, it was truck wash, and man,
They
it
have
had
that
aluminum.
acid. You gotta be careful. They get that acid in it.
It turned
I did
the
the
tank
same thing.
brown.
Yep.
I was like, oh my gosh, these tanks were blitzing 2 seconds ago. Now they're brown. Because
I gotta put the
They recycle
hubcaps.
the water.
Yeah, I gotta put the hub. I just put new tread all the way around on the truck. That was fun when it was, the 110 degrees crawling around, breaking tires, putting tires on.
Hey,
I'm surprised my buddy still talks to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I said,
you're
yeah.
supposed to drop it off. You're not a spring chicken anymore. You're supposed to drop it off and let them do it. Go back.
If I had your money, I would do that. I don't have your money to do that. I gotta still. I'm pretty good breaking those tires down and putting them on.
I used to be when I had my truck.
Yeah, me and Pete, we did all four of them, hour and a half.
4.
Yeah, the 4 in the back. I did the 2 earlier in the month.
So let me tell you this. It's easier to do a semi tire than it is to do a motorcycle tire.
Oh yeah. No shit.
Man.
Because the motorcycle sidewall is like that.
Oh my God, bro.
The truck sidewall is like that.
Well, I got 19 and a halves, and they're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And like I said, if I had 22s, it'd be a whole different story. But that reminds me, when I bought tires for my John Deere tractor, the guy says, at the shop, I was up there and I went up, bought 4 tires, and he's like, "You want me to put them on?" I laughed at him. I said, "Dude, I could do it. F you. Fuck you." And
So how many days till you went back?
Dude, I want to tell you something. I fought those 4 tires for like 4.5 hours, and I was like rolling around out in the grass and trying to get them all on, and I was like, "Holy crap!" I never went back. Don't worry, Paul. I'm not going to give in. I will not. I will not give in. I am stupid and hard-headed, dude. I will beat myself to the pulp. But it took me over 4.5 hours to get those freaking tractor tires on, little John Deere tractors.
When I was doing my motorcycle, the guy, I called the place. I was like, "Hey, how much are tires?" He said $40 a piece to mount them. I was like, "Ain't no way." I was like, "I'll do it myself." Man, look, I was out there sweating, throwing tools. If I cuss, but if I did cuss, it would have been a bad day.
Oh man.
Oh my God.
I was. My old lady thought I was making love out there, dude. I was in every position there was. Dude.
Well, I do cuss, and by damn, when I do stuff like that, stay away from me.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to teach everybody every word I know and make up a few others, too.
So, Lewis, after about an hour and a half of fighting that thing, that $40 didn't seem too crazy, did it?
I'd have gave him 100.
Yeah. Man.
On my new bike, I had to put a front tire on it. So I took it straight to the shop. I was like, "Here, man, it's yours."
Yeah, I tell you, I fought those things forever. That was what was the last thing I had on the, it was, I lost the drive belt for it, and so I go up, get a drive belt, and come back, and I said, I'll just look real quick on YouTube, to see how this thing goes. And they start the thing off saying, "Did the drive belt break? Or did it pop off?" Because if it broke, just put it on. But if it popped off, you need all new belts. Tensioners and everything. So I'm like, crap. So I pull the deck out. I look. Of course, the tensioner is gone. There's nothing. That's what like I said, it's gone. The V belt, the tensioner thing is all messed up. The bearings locked up. So I go back up to the John Deere place, I said, "Yeah, I need the tensioner and belt." He goes, "I figured." He goes, "Well," I said, "Why didn't you say something?" I was like, he goes, "Well, it's pretty popular this time of the year. First season, beginning of the season. He goes, it's going to be 3 or 4 days before we get some more in." And I'm like, so I had this jungle out there, and but it was like, again, it's just one of those things where if you know, you're so much far ahead than playing around, rolling around with that damn thing. So
It's been 50 years since I worked in a gas station. And the technology to changing truck tires is exactly the flapping same. It hasn't changed. I think it's just pitiful. In 50 years, we haven't developed an easier way to change truck tires.
Hold on. They have a different coating and a little bit of rubberized on the handles of the tire irons now.
yeah,
That's true.
Have you seen that lady on YouTube, Chinese lady changing tires?
yeah.
Yes.
Man, I seen her do with a baby on her back.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I said, that's a big on the big truck tires. Or what you do a 19.5, dude. That's like the stupid size. I tell you, that's.
Well, Brian, there is a 22.5 that's just as bad as a 19.5.
That's the one.
Yeah.
22.5 is
That half size stuff
ass.
has got to go.
With the 255 on, because I had these, they were on the RV that I had, and they the auto hauler. A lot of times they run them on the auto haulers. They're 255 70 22.5.
Uh-huh.
And when you get like the ones that did you have a Cottrell setup on, Lewis, when you were running, or what was your setup when you were running cars?
I had the 22.5s.
No, I mean like a Cottrell, the open rack with the ramps and all that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the same size that they run on those auto haulers like those. Is because they're, I forget what the diameter on them is compared to like a low pro or a standard 22.5.
You're supposed to get better gas mileage on the long run.
Well, yeah, if you want to get technical, in most uses, there are 3 sizes of a semi tire. You got 11R 24.5 tall rubber, a low pro 285 75 24.5, which is the same overall height as an 11R 22.5. So those two are the same.
Okay.
And then a low pro, the 295 75, or if you buy a Michelin, 275 80 22.5. That's an inch shorter. The 11R 24.5, then the low pros, they drop an inch. Those two match, and then the low pro 22.5 is an inch shorter than that. So it's like 1, 2, 3 inches. But between those 4 tires, that's 90+% of what's on the road. Now again, the auto haulers are a little different because everything is squatted down because you're trying to get as much in that 13.6 as you can. And
What are your opinion on Super 6?
That the straight truck that I drove, which was basically a converted 06 Freightliner, had the Michelin X1, the big singles on them. And Snyder National, when I worked for them for a short time, had they're comfortable. I mean, they ride. The biggest thing with them was in a semi, when you would go to back up, you know how you look out the window and you're used to seeing that edge of that tire and that front quarter fender and all that. Yeah. Well, you see the quarter fender, but the tire's in here, so you don't see that tire. So you're like, man, am I? But no, they're. I think they ride better because
but they're so expensive though.
When you don't have the 4 sidewalls flexing, it's just the one, right. And coverage nowadays is a lot better. Hell, I saw somebody the other day had a double coin super single.
Yeah.
So, because that was, God, 20 or 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, when they really started to come out, Michelin had one, I think Goodyear and Firestone, and that was it.
Yeah. Yep.
They were the only ones who had that big 385.
Yeah, I won't run a double coin anymore. I've had nothing but problems with double coins.
Knock on wood. Like I said, This truck has got the Continentals on it, and I
That's
priced
nice
a set.
tires.
I priced a set the other day when I was, because they're about 6 to 30 seconds or so on the drives and all. So they're about $100 more per tire than what I was buying. So I'm like, you know what? It's, knock on wood, I'm not gonna have to buy, don't have to buy tires that often, but
Yeah,
so
I can't remember what I just put on mine. God, I can't remember what they were, but they were like they were actually 143 a piece.
when I think I priced them, and they said those Eco whatever. What's on there now? I think she said out the door they're about 4.
Yeah, these were just knobbies. They're not street tires. They're not steer tires. The steer tires, like I said, what I had on there when I had those Continentals, and man, that was a nice driving tire. But man, those were $475 a piece or something like that.
If you think that's bad, don't go price the Michelin.
Oh, the Michelins, I know. I priced them. They were $670, $800, almost $670.
I was gonna say, the last time I priced a Michelin like that, they were $800 a piece.
Yeah.
And
my daughter's gonna love it when she has to buy tires for that box truck.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't know what she's getting into, and I'm going to laugh my ass off.
I've learned over the years that each week I take money and put it in the bread box, and that's nothing but tires right there. So when that day comes, and it's usually, like I said, the last time when we put the rears on the back, that was 2020. So I got 5 years out of the ones on the rears.
I've had better luck with closed shoulder drives. I have run the open shoulder before. For what I do, I don't think they were, the price was comparable to a closed shoulder, an open shoulder with a lug, with an open shoulder with a lug on them. Most of our stuff it may be a dirt lot here and there, but it's not like you're on a construction site or stuff like that. Yeah. So a closed shoulder drive works for us. I forget what's the hell. I've got, Goodyear offers a program where you can sign up and get fleet pricing for Goodyear, and I've got that. And if you want some of that information, Louis, I'll shoot some of that your way, because it was free. All I had to do was just provide the credentials of, name, company, business name, and stuff like that, and they verified that. And then I was like, okay, well, here's your paper, here's your stuff. If you want to order them, you just put in your order. You go to a Goodyear dealer, and then there's certain numbers and stuff that account numbers, and then they and they bill it out that way, and bill you right then and there for fleet pricing and stuff like that, which is a little better than retail, but
yeah.
But every little bit helps.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm
getting ready to have to do the oil change and transmission service on it, and I'm looking at doing that Amsoil synthetic for this motor, because this motor runs 1030, where all the other diesels I've had have run 1540, and I think running again on the Amsoil program, because I'm an owner operator. I think one was $7 a quart and the other was $10 a quart, depending upon which level of the synthetic I wanted to go with. So,
I'm about due for oil change too. I was gonna go with synthetic. I might look into Amsoil.
Yeah, I'll shoot you some some information on that. But don't get me wrong, I've run Rotella T4, T5, T6 for years and never had a problem with it. So, and a lot of the testing I've seen, Rotella was usually right in the middle. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst.
I've never had any problem with the Rotella. That's all I've ever run.
As long as you don't buy it at a truck stop, pricing is not too bad. You go to a truck stop.
Oh, God, no, don't buy it at a truck stop.
They want damn near $40 a gallon at a truck stop for Rotella. It's like, good God.
Rotella, the best price I found was Walmart.
I've been buying it for years at Walmart.
See, I
And
wouldn't
believe it or
say-
not, I saw there's a guy I can't remember who it was. They did a testing, the parts per millionth on zinc and shear load, and it was the oil testing like what's his name the
Lake Speed.
like what he does. I can't remember, Jim, what his title was.
Oh, I don't remember.
The lube geek or geek lube or whatever.
Yeah, it's but he does that same thing. He's like a chemical engineer, and he come out there and he goes, I'm going to make a couple of you guys upset. He goes, but believe it or not, he goes, the Walmart house brand was one of the better oils we checked.
Yeah.
He goes,
Lake Speed Jr. said the same thing.
the zinc and all that stuff. He goes, we tested it, we put it in line just like we did the Rotella, the Dello 400, all of the heavy duty oils. And he goes, the heavy duty Walmart oil from, the heavy duty truck stuff from Walmart. He goes, it tested just as good as 90% of the other stuff.
Yeah.
And for years I ran it in that Volvo. I had that Volvo. I ran that stuff in that truck, and it never had a problem with it. Of course, that truck had 3 oil filters.
Yeah.
I went to the Volvo dealer and I said, 3 oil filters? He goes, 3 oil filters, and he handed them just like, good Lord.
How many miles do you interval?
I usually go because I normally run like a T4, just the base crude, not a blend or anything, 12 to 15. And I look at what the oil, when I check the oil, I always check it, make sure it's not diesel or anything. I will give PACCAR this, because this truck has got that MX-13 motor in it, the PACCAR motor, and I've got about 10,000 miles on it, and the oil looks like it's just starting to get dirty.
Really?
If you've ever seen a Detroit or like even a Cummins, after a couple miles, that oil is just black as soot.
No, my International, the oil is blacker than hell, and I changed it out every 10,000 miles.
Papa Squirrel, a Detroit diesel is like that. You could take a Detroit, change the oil, and it looks good. Fire it up
Until you fire it up.
Shut it off and check it, and it looks like it's got 50,000 miles on it. And it's like, I literally just I don't know what it is with a Detroit.
Yeah, I do mine once a year. Of course, I have a lot of run hours, but I don't have any miles on mine.
I don't know about the new motor, the DD13s and the DD15s and all that, these new ones. I don't have experience with those, but the 60 series Detroits and stuff, like I said, they look good till you fired them up, and then they look like they're waste oil.
I did that with my old tool truck.
Fellas. Lewis,
Bye,
have
Paul.
a safe trip the rest of the way.
Yep. Take care, Paul.
Take care,
I-
Paul.
On my old truck, it was so funny. I had changed the oil, and I guess I had I don't know, a handful of different oils. Half a bottle or 3/4 of a bottle, whatever. And I'm going to tell you something. I was so determined that I wanted to have clean oil in my first tool truck, after doing the oil change. Because, like you said, after you do oil change, you start up, go check it. It looks just as dirty as it did before, And so I drained the oil out, and then I poured oil in there and let it all drain. And it's like I took the valve cover off. I'm pouring all around. I'm cleaning. I'm wiping down. Man, I went through everything. I must have spent, I don't know how long, pouring oil and getting it all, waiting for everything to come out clear. Changed the filter again. I did all kinds of stupid shit. Got all this stuff done, put the oil in, changed it, fired that pig up, let it get warmed up, turned it off, went to check it. It was dirtier than dog shit. I was like, you son of a bitch, man. I tried to clean that I wanted to be clean for at least one day of driving or whatever, and it was still dirtier than shit. I was pouring oil down the dipstick.
God.
I wanted to make sure there was no dirty oil in that thing at all.
Well, I've
And-
always been told diesels naturally run dirtier than than standard cars
Yeah.
because it's the carbon. It's something to do with the fuel.
Well, there's a lot of oil in the fuel. I mean,
Yeah.
the original diesels, Rudolph Diesel designed it to run on like peanut oil,
Yeah.
believe it or not. So
Boy,
that's why
that would have been that'd have been a smell.
Hey, I'm not going to lie, man. I've ran out of fuel, and there was nothing around. Walked right into the grocery store, and I bought vegetable oil and poured it right in there, and I primed it, fired that pig up, and drove it home. I wasn't going, so I had an Audi 4000, it was a Audi diesel, and when that thing got hurt, and I was going through oil, I was burning anything and everything I could find to pour down in there to burn. I mean, you name it. I was burning waste oil. I was burning grease, anything that would melt down to oil, and putting that fuel tank. I was burning in that thing. That car ran forever like that. Made some funny noises, but it ran and smelled funny. But
that's when they started that. I remember Stacy David years ago did a thing on
biodiesel or that
doing a biodiesel, and that was what a lot of them said. They said it smelled like French fries when they were running to buy it. It's like I've never smelt that, but the same thing, Brian. I've been played. It was like, you know what? I've got some oil. It's enough. It's enough to move it from here to 10 feet down the outer.
Yeah.
Dump it in there and get it, and it'll run on it.
I carry 5 gallons, a thing of ATF that I use for if I ever run out. I've done it before where I had to run out, and I got a couple places that there's no diesel around. I mean, there's nothing around here with diesel, and I've poured the ATF. That's how we used to get the old when I worked at the Mercedes shop. You get them in that were dead, and to bleed them, ATF has a faster flash point, and it flows easier, especially like during wintertime when you had to prime these with those hand pumps, trying to prime them.
So you put it in the filter?
Huh?
When you put it in the filter?
The ATF?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I poured it in the tank. I mean, I've ran it. I mean, I've had to drive home on ATF. I just hope I don't get pulled over, because the only problem is that it shows red dye, and they think you're running home heating oil.
That's an old trick for an injector that's hanging up a little sticky.
Oh yeah.
It cleans it to an ATF in a diesel, and
it cleans. I mean, I've been told. I've had guys tell me, he goes, on these newer diesels, the injectors, I can't remember what they're called, but the injector seats on them, he said that's a lot of detergent. I'd be careful. But I'll tell you one thing, I can't leave the truck. I mean, I can't walk away from the truck. I'm not going to leave the truck anywhere. I mean, and unfortunately, I don't have anybody nearby close enough for me to call and say, hey, bring me some diesel. Because if I called and said, hey, bring me some diesel, they just hang up the phone on me. So I don't have very many. And I mean, maybe Ray will drive down from New York, but, I don't know.
It's going to be a few minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be a while, but like I said, I have very few people that would actually go out of their way to help me. So,
far in all the years I've been driving my truck, we've never run out of diesel. But there's been a couple of times where we've been sweating really hard out in Arizona to find a fuel station. But now they're getting them all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, but like I said, I have one area that does not have, I mean, especially, I got one area that there is no diesel around. And if I misjudge my other truck, this one, I've never tested it. My other truck, the gauge was wrong. I learned that the hard way. I mean, you ain't pushing a tool truck, dude. I tried. My fat ass tried to push it. It ain't pushing it. So
Yeah, when I get home, I got to take mine out, and it's off by a quarter of a tank.
yeah.
That Freightliner I just sold Lewis was like that. I put a new sender in it. I put a new wiring, the pigtail, the sender, the harness, all of that stuff got replaced. Still read an eighth of a tank off.
Really?
So if it said that you were on a quarter of a tank, because on the trucks, you've got your standard, and then the dash in the middle, the eighth quarter or eighth quarter, and all. It would say, because I was filling the truck up, because like the last run I made in it was I was going to Memphis or something, and it only had 100-gallon tanks on it, so I knew it was going to take just over. By the time I went to the port and did this and that, and I was going to have to fill the truck up to do what I needed to do. So I looked at what I put in the truck, did some simple math, and went, yeah, the stupid gauge is off by an eighth of a tank, even with the new sender, new wiring, new gauge, everything. It was like the stupid thing still reads off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the nice thing about not being a commercial trucker is you can fill your tank up at a half a tank all the time to make damn sure you're not going to run out anywhere. Say like in the middle of San Francisco, well, not San Francisco, but Sacramento and things like that. No, I don't want to run out anywhere around the city.
Yeah.
What's up, Coach?
Not much. It's kind of a cool day today. It's 95 right now, but it was supposedly 102, 103, something like that. I had
He called it a cool day.
It's cooler than it was. I had to take out a post I had on my fence. So last year where I had that storm damage and I had to redo all that fence. About 5 years. It was probably about COVID or just before COVID. There was another section we had to fix, and I run out of steel tubing for the posts, and I used regular fence posts, and it's not strong enough, and especially with my dogs jumping on it when people pass by, and I guess I didn't get it deep enough, so I had to pull that out, and then right where the fence pieces butt together, I took a 2x6 and put that to conjoin those and make it solid, and then dropped a what is it? I think a 2x2 square tube down, and then I had to mix the concrete. Of course, my being dumb, so we had football camp yesterday, and on the way home I was going to stop and pick up some concrete mix, and I got home and I was like, I was going to go somewhere. What store was I going to go to? So I didn't get out of the house this morning to go do all that, because I was getting everything else set up, and then I was like, I got to go get that concrete mix. That's what I was going to get last night. And
It's the heat.
Yeah. and so anyways, by the time I got out of here to run up and get it, it was probably 10:30, 11 o'clock. So it's like noon, 1 o'clock after I got the old post out, and it was about noon. By the time I got the old post out, got it cleaned up, like got the hole cleaned up, dug in a little deeper, and then by the time I mixed the concrete and put it in, it was probably about 1:30, which is the worst time of the day to be doing that here. In fact, a buddy of mine that coaches, he coaches for a different school. He called me, and he's like, "How's it going?" And I'm like, "Man, this heat's kicking my butt." I said I came inside to cool off for a minute, and he asked what I was doing. I was telling him, and I was like, "Man, it's just hot."
I did the same thing, Coach. I pulled the post, but I used the tool truck.
Yeah.
I put it up on the lift gate and pulled that thing out of the ground.
Yeah, I wished I had that to be able to pull that other one because I was a pain to get out that other one. But I was using leverage and everything, and I was still fighting it. But like I was telling my buddy, I was like, I should have started this at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't know about where you guys are, but at 4 a.m, the this time of year the sun's up, and or at least it's starting to crest over the mountain or trying to. It's bright enough you can see.
Well, Coach, I just looked. It's 10 o'clock here in southeast Georgia, and it's still 80 degrees. Feels like 81. So
Yeah,
you
we're
walk
8.
outside, and it's
I'm
still 80 degrees outside, and the sun's been down for 3 hours. Easy,
Yeah,
easy. 3
yeah.
hours. It's been
I'd
gone.
I'd probably at 80 degrees. I'd probably be, if not a jacket, I might be in a windbreaker this time of year. Because if it's like 110 during the day, by the time it's 80 degrees, it's like a cold spell. Especially when it drops here, because the monsoons are getting ready to hit, and when they hit, it can be hot as hell during the day, and then all of a sudden they hit, and it's like it's cold. You know, it'll drop from 105, 110. It'll drop like almost immediately to anywhere from 80, 85 to 75. If it gets below 80, you're freezing, especially once that rain comes. It's nice and cold, but it's just such a vast difference. And you wouldn't think, you know, during winter when it's like 70, 80 degrees, when it gets that way here, it's like, man, it's hot, you know. But when it's hot all day and it drops to that low or that high, I guess, depending on how you look at it, it's such a drastic difference, and especially when a monsoon storm hit. It's such a fast change that it almost frees you. But
Coach, it's like a friend of mine who lived in California for many, many years before he passed. I was going to San Jose for a trip or whatever, and was going out there, and he goes, because he knew where I was from, and he goes, bring a couple different shirts, basically explaining layering. He goes,
Yeah.
because it might be 50 degrees in the morning, 90, 80, 90 in the day, and then again at the night, it drops back down to 50 degrees in certain parts of the desert and out there. He goes, and it's cold. I mean, so it's blazing hot in the middle of the day and cold as hell at night. And he goes, so that's why you learn to layer. You put on, you know, you have a couple windbreakers, a couple shirts, a couple, and it gets hot, you pull it off, starts getting cold.
Well, that's the one thing for, you know, when you see those movies where they're in California, especially like LA area, and it's hot. It's the middle of the summer, it's hot, and then in the movie or whatever later in the day or in the evening they're wearing sweatshirts because that breeze comes off that ocean, and it can get cold real fast.
Yeah, my brother lived in San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah.
And every time I talk to him, he's like got a sweater and all kinds. I'm like, man, you're in California, right? He goes, it's cold as shit here. It's like 56 or something. And I'm like, what? Get out of here, dude.
Yeah.
And that's why when we go to San Francisco for some of my VA appointments, I take a light jacket with me. I take a short sleeve shirt. I take all types of crap in the car. Why?
Yeah.
We get up in the morning, we leave where we live, and it's pretty damn cool. We get down into the bay, we get down in the valley area, and it's hot. We get into San Francisco, and it's nice and cool. And then when the sun goes down, it's cold.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm a wuss. I hate being blizzard.
No,
Yep.
it's not a wuss. It's smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
You do it one time and you learn. It's like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
When
that
I was,
that
when I,
that ocean cold, that breeze off the ocean, that ocean, I've heard
yeah,
the Atlantic's warmer. I've not
it is.
I've been over on the East Coast, but I've not gotten the chance to get in the ocean. I wanted to, but I know like in California, it's like 50, 60 degrees in the ocean all the time. And
when
and
I
that
first when I
Go ahead,
first got
Costco.
out here, she took me over to Fort Bragg. I'm looking at the ocean. I hadn't seen the ocean for years because I'd been up in Montana. oh God, it's gorgeous. And I stick my foot in it and I jump back and I start doing this shit. And what are you doing? I said, I want to know where the icebergs are
Yeah.
because that water was cold.
Yep.
And that's why I accuse all the crabs net for having the blue shells and that shit. They're freezing.
Yeah.
You know.
You
All
know,
right, guys, time for me to cut out.
Okay, Jim.
Take care,
listen,
Jim.
Take
Take
care,
it
guys.
easy.
that's like in the middle of July and August and all that here. You go to the beach and it's 70, 80 degrees
Oh,
in the
yeah.
water.
Yeah.
They
That's
call
why
it
we got those sharks.
they call it bathtub water. Because it's 70 plus degrees in the water.
Yeah.
That's what my wife said. She said she hates like the Gulf of Mexico and stuff like that because she said, I don't want to swim in my bathtub.
Yeah.
Honey, I don't want to freeze to death either in my bathtub. So,
Yeah. In 2015, we went to San Diego. My nana was going to have her 105th birthday. And we were able to get a place right by the beach. And anytime we weren't doing anything specific, I was in the Pacific. I was jumping in. But I'll tell you what, man, the first 30, 40 minutes to an hour we got there, I went to go stick my foot in. I knew it was going to be cold. And man, it took me a little bit. And then I got about up to my belly. And I'm like, oh, God, it's cold. And I'm like, hey, I want to be here. So just start moving around. And we had a blast. But yeah, it's cold. And that was in May. That was towards the end of May, because I think the kids had just gotten out of school. And yeah, it was chilly. It was cold. And then at night when we went walking around, my brother and my oldest son, they wanted to go walking, and I was like, well, I told my son, I said, you're not gonna go wander around out here without me. I know you're with your uncle, but yeah, I'm going too. But I said, grab a sweatshirt, because it was 50 degrees right there walking along the beach. Funny thing is, though, I guess close to where we were staying, we walked up the way and we found a 7-Eleven. And I was like, I want a Dr. Pepper. Let's go in there. And I guess right in that area, there's a strip and a bunch of bars. And I guess that's where a lot of the college kids hang out. And anyways, we go into the 7-Eleven and there's a lot of people in there. And this girl comes in, she's pretty drunk. And she's going, hey, it's my birthday. And everybody's like, yeah. And they're all getting loud. And it was a 7-Eleven. It had the typical 7-Eleven stereotypical workers there. And because we were out walking along the beach, I had my beanie cap on, had it pulled low. I always wear my long socks, my cholo socks, and my shorts. And I've got that, and I've got a hoodie. And the guy comes out from behind the counter and he's like, you guys need to knock it off. And he comes up and the whole time I'm quiet. I'm just watching what's going on, watching my surroundings. This ain't my town. This ain't my place. Does anybody look out of place besides the crazy girl, in her birthday, the blonde girl? And he's walking down the line and hollering at everybody kind of as a group, but he gets me and goes, stop rattling everybody up. And I'm like, the hell did I do? And he walks away, and my son gets a big grin, and he starts chuckling. He goes, you're too Mexican to be in here, Dad. It's all you.
Olale.
It was the funniest thing, but yeah, no, it was it was nice, probably in the high 70s, maybe 80s during the day. But yeah, at night it drops down in the 50s, even the high 40s. I know one evening we went to where we stayed was on Mission Beach, but we went further up on Mission Beach. They have a roller coaster, and we took my kids and my daughter and my boys, me and my wife, and we went and rode the roller coaster, and it was a blast. It was fun doing it at night, but it was chilly. It was cold.
Well, Coach, there's a years ago, being that I was, born and raised in Savannah, and I had cousins that lived in Atlanta, and most people don't realize that when they hear the term Atlanta, they think city. Well, most people don't realize that Atlanta is 5 counties large that make up Atlanta, so it's a good sized city.
Yeah.
And the Chattahoochee River runs through part of Atlanta, and it was probably 1980. Remembering that it was probably 83, 84, sometime in that area. You could do what they called shoot the hooch, which was rafting down the Chattahoochee River, which is a great thing to do in the middle of summer because it's hotter than blue blazes, and go rafting down there, and of course there's plenty of your friends, and there's coolers and their adult sodas or whatever. It's everybody had a cooler, and so I had never been. My cousins and my brother, and they had all done it before, so I was kind of like my first time. So we go to put in, and they had it set up where you had designated in and out spots. So we would always have like one person who, we'd have. My cousin had an old Fulton County police car. It was an old Plymouth Fury 3, and you could put like 8 people in the thing because it's like a 71, and it had a trunk that you could put bodies in. So we'd have we'd have like 3 or 4 the big igloo coolers, like 3 or 4 of them in the back, all iced out with Cokes and beer and whatever. And we'd have the raft strapped onto the roof of the car, and then we would go, and then there was always one guy who'd ride with us, and he would dump us at the end, and then he would just take the ride and be there at the pickup spot. Because he'd done it a bunch, so he's like, I don't mind. I'll just go read a book or get a burger. There's burger joints and stuff. He goes, I'll just meet you guys once you raft down the river. And I remember as a kid walking in as we're putting in, we're getting this stuff on, and they're leaving all your and we're walking in, and I'm looking to the left, and it's like the base of a mountain, and you're looking at all the rock formations, and you could see the water just shooting off. And I went, well, that's pretty cool. It didn't put 2 and 2 together. That's water coming out of the rocks and the mountain, the high elevation. We went to step in that water, and it was about 50 degrees because it was right out. It's like, holy shit, that water's cold.
Yep.
And
the thing we used to do in Texas to go tubing in the early 70s when I went into the Air Force, we'd all go up to Austin and that and go tubing. Did a lot of that. I like the tubing because the young ladies in the bikinis and the cold water.
So it was, like I said, so you would see all kind of different groups have the rafts tied together, and the coolers in the water all tied to the raft. So you'd see this vagabond. It was a good time. They unfortunately, I'm not sure what year they cut all that out, but you can't, as they used to say, shoot the hooch. You can't go rafting down the Chattahoochee anymore. I'm not sure when they quit it.
That's unfortunate. They have the Salt River here, and it comes out from the mountains up in mid northern Arizona. I don't know where it starts, to be honest with you, but I know it's up there towards the White Mountains, and then it works its way all the way to Phoenix. Now, when it gets to Phoenix, it's pretty much dry, because of all the different dams and all the farming and stuff. But further up outside of Phoenix, they have the same thing. They have a spot where you can get in a couple designated spots to get out. Though it was back in the 90s when I last did it, but back then, and I don't know if they still have it the same way. I know it's still open. Unfortunately, somebody passed away this year already up there, up in it. But the way they used to have it, and they probably still do, is you get to one of those designated spots that you get out. They have a shuttle that'll take you back to the top to go get your car and bring your car down to get everybody. But yeah, and it's the same thing like you said, coming out the mountain. It's cold water, and even though where you catch it, it's all you're further down in the desert or the high desert, but where you're riding it and where you get out, it's you're in the heat, you know. But it's fun. I mean, we would put the tubes together when I went, put the tubes together, and you know, every couple hundred yards you'd slip through the tube and dunk, come back out and just sit there and soak up the sun. I remember getting as red as a lobster. I wasn't brown no more. I was red. I was taco sauce red. But
You know, it's like up there, you'd see the same thing. You'd see inner tubes lashed together, and then rafts lashed together, and canoes, and you just see all kind of stuff just out there having a good time, just floating in the water. And every so often there were 2 or 3. Actually, they had bars, literally, where you could got kind of like a little dock where you could pull up and run up. And they had the bar, and you know, hot dogs, burgers, and stuff, and like a regular restaurant bar. And you'd run up there, and you could buy. Tell you how long ago it was. You could buy a 6-pack of beer up there to, convenience store, burger stand. And it was so funny because they used to. I remember I unfortunately, Stoopy got rid of them years ago. They had a Miller High Life can that was about that tall, and it was about like that. And it said Miller High Life, shoot the hooch, Atlanta, Georgia. And those were the big beer cans, and they sold those on the thing. And it's just like, you don't think about it, you'll always be able to do that.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
But
see, I think I'd almost rather do that in Atlanta than do the Salt River here. Salt River here is fun. It's so hot here. It's just, and while you're on it, it's not bad because you, like I said, you just slip through, dunk, pop out.
We would do this. We would do the same thing. You hop out the raft, kind of, dunk under there, and get, splash, and hop back into, whatever you had. And so it was just a great time. Like I said, I remember, I'm kind of sad that they don't do it anymore, but again, I'm not sure why they quit doing it. I'm sure they have their reasons because it was packed.
Probably liability laws, because all the lawyers have gotten in on everything now.
Yep.
And there were parts of that area, depending upon what the rainfall and all had been. If the river was high, it wasn't a problem. But if it was down a couple feet, a couple of those areas, it was kind of rocky. It would almost be rapid, where you're going through all the rocks and stuff. So I'm sure people, adult sodas and rocks in the river, and I'm sure somebody might have gotten hurt for So again, I know that I got probably 15 years ago. I was talking to somebody about that, and they went, "Yeah, they quit doing that a long time ago." And I'm like, I don't live in Atlanta.
Yeah,
I had family that lived in Atlanta, but I didn't live in Atlanta, so
I know when my son graduated basic training, he was in Fort Jackson, South Carolina,
just outside of Columbia.
Yep. We flew into Atlanta and drove from Atlanta up, and that's some of the most beautiful country I've ever seen. And coming from the desert, here in the desert, you go down I-10, you go down the freeway, and you can just see for hundreds of miles. You see across the desert, see the mountain, and there's bushes, there's some trees, there's cactus, But then being in Atlanta and South Carolina and all that, it's just thick, along the freeway. And in fact,
it's green. It's not brown.
Yeah, it's green. It's not brown. It's not desert. So it was amazing. This is still home, and I still love it here. But it was a sight to behold. It was different.
I mean, you guys got a couple loose stones. You guys think a pea gravel is a yard. You know what I'm saying? You're out there with your lawnmower cutting rocks. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand you fuckers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Coach.
Yeah.
Write down Nickajack Lake.
Nickajack Lake.
Nickajack Lake. Lewis, you've probably been through there up on Nickajack on was it 65 up there, like you're going to was it 24 or no 75 up to no, it's on 75, excuse me. When you go before you get to once you go through Chattanooga.